Let's talk about a spiritual trap that is so sneaky, it can actually hide behind our very best intentions. It's the difference between really pursuing God and just pursuing a to-do list. And it's a trap that so many of us fall into without ever even seeing it coming.
So let me ask you a question, straight up. Are you a good Christian? It seems like a simple enough question, right? And for a lot of us, if we're being honest, that quiet little voice inside says, yeah, I think so. We really try to do the right things to live a good life. But what if the way we define good is actually the problem? I mean, look at this. This looks like a perfect picture of a committed faith. And these are all wonderful, honorable things to do. On the surface, this is a life of obedience and service. But it's right here, in the middle of all our best efforts, that something dangerous can start to happen without us even noticing. It starts really quietly, just a little feeling of satisfaction that kind of grows into this sense of spiritual accomplishment. You look at your consistency and think, hey, I'm doing pretty well. And then you look at others who aren't, and that whisper gets louder. Well, I'm not like them. That right there, that's the sound of religion replacing grace. So this whole way of thinking, it actually has an aim. It feels safe, it feels structured, and it even feels righteous. But it's a trap, and it's called the checklist gospel. So what is it exactly? Well, the checklist gospel is when we start to believe, whether we realize it or not, that our good behavior actually earns us God's favor. Our salvation, our blessings, our sense of peace. Suddenly it all depends on how well we're performing. Grace stops being a free gift, and it turns into a transaction, something we have to trade our good deeds for. And this really lays out two totally different ways to live. I mean, one path is basically a performance hamster wheel. When you do well, you feel pride. When you mess up, you feel shame. It is an exhausting, absolutely endless cycle. But the other path, it's built on a gift. It rests in a work that's already done, Christ's work. And the focus shifts completely off of you, which doesn't lead to pride or shame, but to real humility and incredible freedom. This gets to the very heart of the whole thing. Jesus didn't say, come to me all you who are well-behaved and have it all figured out. No, he said, come to me all who are weary. The invitation isn't for the spiritually successful. It's for those of us who are just exhausted from trying to be. That checklist is a heavy burden, and he offers rest from it. And here's the thing. In the end, this whole performance-based approach is just completely unsustainable. Your faith becomes a job you have to clock in for every single day. And what happens when life gets messy? When you can't keep up the performance? The entire system just collapses because it was built on your effort, not on a solid foundation. Okay, so if the checklist is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's something radical. It's something that confronts our pride head-on. It's what we can call the humiliation of grace. Let's be perfectly 100% clear on this. The list of things you do or don't do, that is not the gospel. The cross, what Christ has already done for you, that is the gospel, period. See, true grace is disruptive. It totally dismantles our pride because it refuses to play our game. It doesn't care about our spiritual achievements or our moral failings. It speaks the exact same truths to everyone, completely leveling the playing field. And this puts it so bluntly. Grace looks at the straight-A student and the dropout, the saint and the sinner, and it says the exact same thing to both of them. You can't earn this. So what does true grace actually do? Well, it just systematically removes our ability to boast. By leveling that playing field, it just completely silences any claim we have to spiritual superiority. It dethrones our performance. And ultimately, it declares that the work is already finished, which leaves absolutely zero room for our contributions. So how in the world do we make this shift? How do we go from keeping this spiritual scorecard to a life of actual surrender? Well, the path forward requires a massive change in what we think we're offering to God. This is it. This is the fundamental shift we have to make. God is not looking for a list of your accomplishments. He is not impressed by your religious resume. He's after the motive behind it all. He wants your heart, your trust, your love, your complete surrender. Okay, so the path to freedom starts with recognition. We just have to be honest with ourselves about where we're still trying to earn God's favor. The next step? Abandonment. It's a conscious choice to just stop measuring our worth by our good days and bad days. And finally, we rest. We actively choose to place our trust not in what we can do for God, but in what Christ has already completely done for us. The choice before us really leads to two very different destinies. The path of the checklist, it always, always leads to pride when you're doing well, burnout from the constant effort, and then bitterness when life doesn't go your way despite all your hard work. But the path of the cross, that leads to something else entirely. It leads to humility, true spiritual rest, and abundant life. So we end right back where we began, with a question. But it's not about whether you're good anymore. The real question, for you and for me, is this. What are you clinging to for your hope and your security? Is it your list, or is it the cross?